Welcome back to Guardians Reborn. This will be part 4 and our final part of the Parts of a Turn video series, teaching different mechanics of the game. So we have already been through one full turn, draw and organize, movement and combat, and terrain settlement. So let's do one full turn in one video and let's see how things turn out. So we'll go ahead and advance the phase, draw and organize. Draw cards and ready all cards. So we look at our Guardian here. 3 is our base draw, least disputed lands, most disputed lands, and lowest up card. So least and most disputed lands. Right now, it may look like our opponent has the most disputed and we have the least disputed. That is not correct. We own the 3 spaces in front of our stronghold. They own the 3 in front of theirs. Right now, it is a tie. We both own 3 spaces. So this would be a 0 because nobody has the most, nobody has the least. Lowest up card is a +1 on the draw. I have a 4, my opponent has a 7. That means I get the lowest up card bonus. So I would draw 4 and my opponent would draw 3. Part of your draw is your up card. So we're drawing 4, so we draw this and 3 more. And our opponent would take his up card and draw 2. And then ready all cards. This is really easy. When we click ready all of our turn shields will turn right side up. And ready all on the opponent's side. And there we go. That's all there is to this step. Create storage hand. This will be a little bit different than last time because we have a stronghold upgrade that goes back to our hand. We have these creatures without a shield. They go back to our hand. Our opponent has his stronghold upgrade that goes back to his hand, and he does not have any creatures without strongholds or without shields on them. So that is all there is to creating the storage hand for this turn. Place cards. So let's see here. What do we want to do? So we'll do, this will be 19. And that's a 1. And we'll bring him out here too. Why not? So we are at 6 cards in our hand, which is good because we'll have to discard down to 7. We don't have to worry about this because right now we don't have any terrain cards, so this can be a terrain candidate for us, as can any of our spells in our hand. So let's look at what our opponent's going to do. He wants to... He is going to do this. And that. And that is all. Alternate playing shields. I don't have any. But our opponent does. And his standard bearer says opponent must declare the type, border color of his or her first creature in combat. So this is trying to hit off-color bonuses. And there's no more shields to place. Discard down to 7. I have 6. My opponent has 4. So we're both good. Create the creature pen. This will go to the creature pen. Everything else will not. Our opponent creates his creature pen. And we will move on to movement and combat. Next is the up card. I got a 5. And my opponent got a 10. Well, I'm definitely not going first. Okay. So next, the active player turns a shield. So since he has a 10, he is the active player first. And let's go ahead, we'll be aggressive. We'll rotate and we will attack. Again, because we already saw this combat, but we can see a different outcome possibly. So let's drag this back to my hand. Or my opponent's hand. Drag these back to my hand. Alright. We'll have face down card. Face down card. Now we reveal. 18 versus 17. The 3 points AoE effects do not work because they're only for creatures in your hand that are 3 health or 3 vitality or less. So neither one of us have 3 point vitality or less. So 17 versus 18. So I know I have my Razor Sylph, but let's go ahead. We'll play a Power Lunge as a modifier. When played during combat, any one creature may receive channeling for 1 matchup. So I want to allow the Great Black Rishar to receive channeling, which he would receive the CMP total of 6 from my Guardian. So that would bump him up to 23 versus 18. Actually, no. This one here, this is a push because this is 18 plus 5 is 23. So I would have to channel in order for this to win. So what I would do is I would play the Power Lunge. And my opponent decides he's going to Dispel Magic that, so it cancels it out. Now, I know that I need my Power Lunge because even if I do 17 plus 5 here, that's only 22, so I can't win without doing with just the secondary attack. So I need to play my own Dispel Magic. My opponent does not have yet another Dispel Magic. And I played this wrong, but we'll play it out. So I will lose a stone. And this goes to 23. And this is a 23. So this is actually a push. This will go to the discard. This will go to the discard. And this will go to the discard. So now, my opponent doesn't have anything else to play. And I play my Razor Sylph. So here's the thing. My channeling goes away versus from the first round. So this is back down to a 17. 17 plus 5 is 22. But since this was a push, and I end up... So this was a push. The off-color bonus also goes away. So this is back down to an 18. So 18 plus the 25, or 23, I would win this combat based on the secondary attacker. It would have been a push if I did not have the secondary attacker because it would be 23 versus 23. But as soon as you play a secondary attacker, all modifiers from round 1, including off-color bonuses and channeling go away, and you just look at base vitalities. So we managed to win this. So this Landrake goes to the discard. I did not lose my creature because it was a push, and he did not lose that combat. And these go back to face down. This actually becomes a shield kill trophy for me. And since I was the defender, my shield is not turned. So now that it is my turn, I rotate my shield and I will move it up. Now I cannot move up to the stronghold even though there's a terrain here because I do not own this terrain. This is my opponent's terrain. As we can see from the fact that the wording of Guardians is facing my opponent. That's how you keep track of them when they're face down. So my opponent will rotate his shield and he will move back a space. Now he cannot move back a space and to the middle because there's already a shield here. Because there's already a shield here, you can pass through it, but you cannot stop there. And since I was already here and can only move 2 spaces, it would be 1, 2, and I cannot stop there. So there are no other moves to happen. No other movement options. Terrain settlement. Remove terrain cards. So here is where my opponent's terrain card would come out. We will click lock rotation just to undo the rotation on it. And then put it in our discard. And that is it because there's no other terrains to remove. Place terrain cards under my shield. Well, let's grab my creature pen. And we'll go ahead and burn a power stone. We'll turn our spiky crenellations upside down. Shield terrain. Lock rotation. Notice the wording faces me to notate that it is mine. And that is the end of the turn. After that, we would go right back to the draw and organize phase. Draw cards and ready all cards. So now, we can look at one other thing real quick. I now have taken away one of the terrain spaces from my opponent. So I now have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have the most disputed lands. And my opponent only has 2. So they have the least disputed. So most disputed lands is a +1. And what is my up card? 5 versus 10. So now I get most disputed lands of +1 plus lowest up card of +1. So I get 5 cards this turn. 1 being the up card. And then 4 more. My opponent did not have the lowest up card and has the least disputed lands. So instead of 3, he only gets 2. So he gets his terrain +1, and that's it. And then create storage hand, creatureless, shieldless creatures on terrains. And there's nothing on my opponent's side. Oh, we forgot to ready all cards. We can lock that rotation so it doesn't rotate every time we hit ready all. It doesn't matter, it's just aesthetics. We got our storage hands. Place cards again. I want to get this shield out here, so So 10, 16, 3, so that's 19, 20. And now that I have 2 shields, we're doing good. Now we can bluff our opponent because we have a 5, a 1, and a 4, so that's only a 10. But we can show solidarity by putting this down. Because they don't know that's a 10. They don't know that there's weak creatures under there. And our opponent has nothing to do. Nothing at all. Okay, let's see. We'll go ahead and we'll place a shield on this stack. We're not doing anything on the opponent's side. Create the creature pen. So our shield would go to the creature pen. And our opponent has... You know what? I take that back. Our opponent does have a move. Alright, now we create our creature pen. We'll do an up card. There's a 10. And a 7, so we get a move first. This will be fun. So we watched our opponent, and there we know that there's only one creature under here. So let's go ahead, we'll rotate and move into this space. So now combat will happen. Wait, where'd all my guys go? There they are. It gets confusing when it's me doing it by myself. Okay, so now your combat hand is the same thing as your storage depot. I just couldn't get this to change names every time it changed phases. Storage depot is your hand. It's also your combat hand when you're in combat. So that's one thing to keep in mind if something refers to your combat hand. Okay. So since I have the advantage and I'm the attacker, I get to choose, do I want a command card? Let's go ahead. We'll play this Vital's Dark Cloud. 4-point AoE attack. Or, well, we'll do it face down. And our opponent will play a command card. So we reveal 4 points. That doesn't hurt him. Now, the Inferno Swarm. 11-point AoE fire attack. Discard your entire combat hand when the swarm is used as a command card. This is kind of a Hail Mary card because you're going to end up losing your shield. You're giving up a shield when you do this, but you're hoping you kill your opponent with it. Well, it does get rid of my Razor Sylph. That goes to the discard. And it does not hit the Great Black Reshar because he's a 17. And discard your entire combat hand when used. So that means anything that's left in my hand goes to the discard for my opponent. And now the Great Black Reshar can, since there's no primary, he can actually secondary attack the Inferno Swarm with the Vitality 6. This is a Vitality 17. So this would get discarded. And I would get another shield for a shield kill. This would go to my discard. Face down. Alright, so I killed a shield on my opponent's rubbles, or opponent's stronghold space. I won the combat. This now gets rubbled. Now, rubble means you cannot play shields there, you cannot play creatures there. You can move on it, but you can't attack there. And what's the vitality? 29. I know I cannot beat that with the Reshar and a power lunge, because that would only be 23. So normally you can go straight ahead and attack the Guardian at this point, but we have no way of actually doing it. So let's go ahead and we will rotate this shield. And we'll initiate combat here. We know there's only one thing there. And I left the creatures behind. Alright. So, normally this says +5 vitality to defending creatures. Well, that's if I'm attacking them. The Inferno Swarm would have actually been a 6 + 5 and 11, which still didn't help it. And since we're in a rubble space, nobody gets a bonus. And we'll just do this. A 7 versus a 17. And then as a secondary attacker, we have 12 + 7 is 19, which beats the 17. So my Great Reshar goes to the discard. The Rotten Guy would go to the discard. And the Cyclops would remain. My opponent claims a shield trophy. And there we go. And then we'll go ahead and move this other shield up one space. Now, since my opponent owns the space directly in front of him, he can actually move through it and initiate combat here, because he owns the spires. So one more round of combat. I don't even remember what's under these now. Okay. No command cards. Alright, so reveal. A 10 versus a 15. Well, that doesn't look promising, but we have a gold bribery. Gold bribery basically means that if your opponent can't stop that, which, as we see by the card, this coin means that it can be bribed by gold. Since they do not have a dispel magic, this goes to their creature pen. This does not go to the discard. It goes to the creature pen. And this is now an unchallenged melee. This goes to the discard. So next up, we'll go ahead and do this. And this. 15 plus 6 for the off color bonus, because we see the off color bonus here. So that is a 21 versus a 3. Well, that kind of stomps on that. And our 4 is not going to be helpful, so we'll just show this card. So I could have done a secondary attack, which would have been a 4 vitality plus the 3. So it would have been a 7 versus 15, which is why I didn't bother with it. So discard defeated creatures. So now we compare totals. We have 4 plus 10 is 14 versus a 15. So my opponent wins this combat. So I will take my creatures, put them back under my shield, and I have to retreat 1 space. That's legal, which would be backing up. And my opponent gets to keep their creature and the space. There are no other shields to go. I didn't do any click through these. Terrain settlement. There's no new terrains for me. My opponent, on the other hand, we'll do this. And next turn. So now they have 1 in my disputed lands. They have 1, 2, 3 spaces that they own. And I have 1, 2, 3 spaces that I own. So we are back to 0 on the most or least disputed lands. I have a 10. They have a 7. So they have lowest up cards. So my opponent would get the bonus. That is how this works. You can keep going through these steps. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm always here to help. Thank you for watching and have a great day.